Welcome, everyone. I call the April 17th, 2024 Apple Valley Planning Commission meeting to order. The first item of business tonight is the approval of the agenda. Any changes from staff?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we have no changes for you at this time.
Thank you. Any changes from the commissioners?
Move approval of the agenda. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Schindler and seconded by Commissioner Scanlon. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item of business is the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda items are considered routine and will be enacted with a single motion without discussion unless a commissioner or citizen requests to have any items separately considered. It will then be moved to the land use action items for consideration. 3A, approve minutes of April 3rd, 2024 regular meeting.
Move approval. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Schindler, seconded by Commissioner Scanlon. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That brings us on to number 4, public hearings tonight, and we do have one. So I will start by opening up the public hearing. We will now open the public hearing for agenda item 4A. The affidavit of publication for the notice of public hearing is available for inspection in the planning department. Everyone wishing to speak at this public hearing should be sure to have filled out the attendance roster in the back, include your name and your address so that accurate records can be maintained. We will begin the procedure with a brief presentation by city staff, followed by a presentation by the petitioner of the hearing. Upon the conclusion of the presentation, city staff will be asked to comment on the proposal's conformance with pertinent regulations and policies. After that, comments will be taken from the general public. And here to present our public hearing is Alex Sharp.
Thank you, Chair. As noted, this is a public hearing for 3 separate actions at 12450 Drayton Trail. The actions being requested as part of this project are amendments to the Plan Development 1080 to specifically allow one-family detached dwellings and correct some typographical errors and set some final setback items. Second item would be to subdivide Outlot A by preliminary plat into 7 single-family lots. And then third is this is a multifamily development, a site plan and building permit authorization for 7 single-family homes in conjunction with a multifamily development. The site is located at the northeast corner of Pilot Knob and McAndrews Road. As noted, it is 12450 Drayton Trail. Outlot A is specifically the smaller of the 2 lots at 1.14 acres as part of the overall Applewood Pointe project. The Applewood Pointe project is the larger 98-unit cooperative in this area. The area being subdivided only includes this Outlot A, and Outlot A was created previously. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that later. The site is zoned PD 1080. There are 2 zones within PD 1080, the first being for cooperative zone 1 and the second being for the single family homes in the subdivision. At the time that it was originally written, townhomes, but again, I'll provide some greater detail on that as I move through. We happen to have some really good drone footage of the project right now because we've been presenting it for our Home and Garden show and State of the City. So this is the project as it's been constructed to date. It is, according to the developer, fully sold out. Residents are currently moving in, and several are already living within the premises. The site that is being subdivided is kind of the graded area here that you're seeing to the southwest of the Applewood Pointe project. The stormwater on site is all private. On October 8th, 2020, this is the site plan that was approved with the original Applewood Pointe project. As you can see, Outlot A did intend for those 7 single-family homes. On the plans, they were always labeled a townhome. And I'll get to a little bit more detail of that when we're going through the table. But these 7 units are not a new thing being added in later. I want to emphasize that they were intended as part of the original project. This is simply the actions coming forward to formally subdivide the properties off and then to create some additional performance standards or zoning requirements around those lots. This is the preliminary plats the Planning Commission is reviewing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer because this is a little bit zoomed out. There will be 7 single-family homes, varied lot sizes, with the smallest one being 5,920 square feet. Average home size is already around that 2,000 to 3,000 square feet with 2 levels, so there is a lot of lot coverage with these, which is one of the reasons why you'll see in the draft ordinance that the lot coverage is being studied right now. However, all of it was taken into account in the original stormwater study. They just need to provide us with some additional details. Again, I'll give just a little bit more background on that in a future slide. One of the major changes that is emphasized on this sheet that I'm going to point out is the front setback was altered in a minor way from 20 to 25 feet. This was done to provide for a little bit more on-site parking, a full car length in the garage. We are currently evaluating this, though we don't believe that there are going to be issues with the grading plan upon speaking with the developer, but that could go back to the original. Where the original was at 20 foot from the sidewalk. So that 5 foot isn't truly a full sidewalk or a full 5 feet, it's 2 to 3 varying per lot. This is a lot of information on one slide, so I'll try to piece it apart, I think starting at levels of kind of importance. The first is adding townhomes and one-family detached dwellings. The one-family detached dwelling is an important consideration within the plan development ordinance because that is what the developer is proposing. They've always proposed a detached townhome, however, upon review of our code, townhomes must have one shared wall. And so this difference in definition between our code and perhaps a developer norm of detached townhome, we don't have that definition. We'd rather utilize our current definition than create a new one. That way it's more consistent. This is the way that it reads in all of our single-family zones, so it's identical to that. Some of the other items that I noted about, there were some items that were reversed within the code where it was clear the ordinance didn't intend for Zone 1 to have smaller setbacks than Zone 2. There are things like minimum lot sizes, overall density, which has not been amended or changed from the original plan, but we are cleaning it up and formalizing it now to that overall 12 units per acre, and then setting some setbacks. Probably the most important on this one, again, will become that impervious surface coverage. Other zones, particularly planned developments, do have varied impervious surface coverages based upon what their stormwater systems were designed to accommodate. That is how this one will be set up. I believe, as an estimate, will be somewhere in that 45 to 50% range. This is a little bit closer in site plan, just to give a little bit more context. This was primarily for the overall Applewood Pointe project, but I did want to include it in the presentation because this was what was submitted even for building permits. And so the reason I'm including this is to try to emphasize that at all points in the submission process, the 7 single-family homes were an anticipated feature. The utility plan, one of the odd things I would say about this development is that the utilities are in and stubbed already for lots that haven't formally been created. That's because of the nature of this development, and they needed to get the site prepped and worked and that private drive in order for Applewood Pointe to be functional. So typically the Planning Commission takes a look at a utility plan and there's some review, but in this case, they're there, they've been set, their elevations are set. So that does have to be an item of consideration if we start making any changes like that 20-foot to 25-foot setback. We are carefully considering that as we're working with the developer. Much is true with the grading plan. Typically, we are seeing a grading plan at the time of preliminary plat to make sure the plats can work and utilities function. In this case, the grades are relatively set. There are essentially 4 different landscape plans for this, all of which are largely similar. Perimeter plantings and 2 trees are proposed. The developer is proposing to meet the 2.5 means construction value percentage required for code for multifamily developments. We do not typically require that for a single-family development, but this is that planned development hybrid. So that is one of the aspects that is included in this plan. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll kind of move kind of quickly. We are encouraging the developer to work with our natural resources coordinator to shift some of the species, perhaps some less maple, perhaps a little bit more diversity. These are really standard comments that we get. The Planning Commission, I'm sure, has heard that many times before, but we don't have set requirements for that. We're just doing a encouragement to encourage some biodiversity within the sites. So based upon their different homes designs is how they have designed the landscape plans. These are included in your report, and I can certainly go back to them if you do end up having any questions, but they're predominantly similar, so I don't want to linger on them too long. These are the elevations of the homes proposed. They are proposing to use some higher end materials, such as the cement board sidings. They're wanting to put dormers and arches on the roofways. If you read the applicant narrative, they highlight some of these as accent points that are intended to mimic the Applewood Pointe project. Both have sloped roofs, or the Applewood Pointe project has a sloped roof. These have a sloped roof, but they both include dormers, windows in those dormers, and other architectural features that they're trying to maintain a similar cohesive development. The homes will be maintained via a association, so they will have shared snow, grass, trash removal. That it was a consideration of staff, and want to make sure the Planning Commission, the public is aware of that as well. One of the things that we didn't add as a permitted use are sheds, because the exterior maintenance will be performed by a third-party company. There are interior layouts available. These are at greater detail for the Planning Commission and the public to view within the packet as well. This isn't something typically that the Planning Commission or staff reviews, but they are all intended to be available for walkouts, and they've got some models like this one that have even a 3-car garage. Again, on each one of these, you're starting to see some of those common themes of the peaked roofs and dormers coming through. And with that, I would open it up for questions or comments. I believe the applicant is present, and I believe a representative from Robert Thomas Homes is also present to be able to answer any specific questions about the units.
Thank you, Alex. Anybody have any questions for Alex? Yes, Commissioner Scanlon.
Madam Chair, Alex, basically what we're doing here is really similar to what's down in Cobblestone with the single-family homes maintained. They're an association-based single-family homes where they're not a, like you say, traditional attached townhome situation. And then you said these are going to be association-maintained. Correct.
That is what the applicant has stated in their letter, yes.
Right, okay. One question, when you were showing the various measurements, what kind of distance are you looking at between structures? I was asking, what is the distance between the structures, the homes?
Chair Kurtz, Commissioner Scanlon, I think this will show it a little bit better. So these have the standard 5-foot drainage utility easements that we see on any single-family lot. So we didn't actually decrease these, even though these lots are smaller. To answer the question more directly, there's a 5-foot setback required from each side. Typically, we have that just on garage side within single-family homes. However, in this development, I'm proposing a straight 5-foot. That was what was intended before, 10 feet essentially between units.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Can we bring up the applicant? If there's some other questions?
Chair, before I go, is there any site that you'd like up or anything?
No, not at this moment. I just have a couple questions.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Dave Young. I'm with United Properties. I also have Mr. Graybo here with Robert Thomas Homes. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I want to first just thank Mr. Sharp and the rest of the staff for a thorough report that was produced. I won't go into any repeat of what they did. other than just making the couple of points that he pointed out with the architectural features that we incorporated, Robert Thomas incorporated into to kind of highlight what existing structure that's already there. And just it's noteworthy that Applewood Pointe did sell out all 98 homes prior to completion, and we have a 54 home wait list for that community. So definitely in high demand. So we in the city all should be very proud of that.
It looks very lovely also. That's very, very nice over there.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions, maybe just a personal question, but I just kind of want to know, what do you consider a detached townhouse? So I've always known a townhome has a mutual wall in between. What do you consider a townhome or not a townhome?
Maybe a question for
Sure,
Mr.
okay.
Mr. Grabo. He's in the single-family home business.
I think I've met you a couple of times.
Paul
Yeah.
Grable, president of Robert Thomas Homes.
Hi.
Sorry if I'm close enough to the
No,
mic.
you're good.
Detached townhomes really came from, in Lakeville, there's certain requirements as far as garage size. And Lakeville puts kind of a little box around a common property. And we then called them detached townhomes, where it's the full snow, mow, irrigation in this case, and Dave and I had spoken about this earlier, that our intent is to not have a main irrigation line like you'd see on a lot of common ones. We'll actually have, each individual home will have their own controller that'll be on the outside in a locked control box. So the association essentially will go into each box, do each setting, because we really want it to look, exactly like as far as yards go. So you don't have one person that, well, I don't want to run my irrigation. They won't have the chance to, so.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
explanation. I don't know which one wants to answer this, but I guess I went over there today. So I can see where people are probably a little confused as to where the homes are going to be placed.
Yeah.
Is it going to be up on that hill where it was kind of like a half moon? Is it up on the hill part? Is that where the homes will go?
I can help. I'm going the wrong direction, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
So right between those evergreens on the back there, is that kind of where they're going to be going? Okay. So what kind of a customer, just curious, because you see the apartments are in the back and everything, and then you have these individual homes. What kind of customer do you generally see who tend to live in there?
So primarily on our villa product, we see empty nesters with the occasional young professional that doesn't want, maybe wants a house this size, but doesn't want this, just the snow and mow, and trash is also included. And that's pretty rare. I'm assuming on this one, we'll see really the empty nester demographic.
Who just don't want to downsize that much, but want to,
That's the interesting thing is Cobblestone, the one that we had done in there. We did our turnover meeting, and people said, we came here intending to downsize, but then we realized we almost bought the same size home. So they're really not giving up any space, but it lives so much more comfortably than a two-story home. And some of the elevations, it gets a little confusing, like on that Hamilton, where it almost looks like a two-story home. So the streetscape and just the massing of the homes, they all look a little different.
well, they're beautiful homes.
Thank you.
I see why people, and I love the porches, so.
Yeah.
Commissioner Scanlon?
Madam Chair, this question or comment is maybe kind of late in the game because you're pretty far down the design route, but especially in the demographic that you were just talking about for this is with this type of product, is to shift the garage back and have the porch forward so you can have that intercommunication
Yeah.
going between all the townhomes
Yeah.
versus the porches getting isolated and the garages forward from the front of the property.
So on where these were designed was really starting in Cobblestone, and then we moved over to Spirit of Brandon Farm, and we really looked at all the ARC guidelines for there, and they're pretty much equal. The porch is held back a little bit, but it's not like the garage is out 10 feet. It's very, very close to level with the porch.
Yeah, like for Cobblestone,
Yeah.
the garage is set back like a foot, I think, 12 inches.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just that difference, you allow to have the porch forward so that you can actually be sitting on a porch and communicating or having your neighbors there.
Yeah.
And it encourages that
Conversation.
neighbor conversation and just that interaction with your neighbors.
Yeah.
Knowing people versus
And I think
isolated.
with a seven lot development, it'll be a pretty tight-knit little community too, along with the cooperative, so.
And that also might take care of some of the driveway length problems too, by
Yeah.
bringing the driveway back
Yeah.
versus having it forwards.
And in Cobblestone, we did, where there's a private drive, we did some that had that side load garage. They won't fit on these lots. So the side load, they're pretty deep, and we're just intending on doing the front load.
You have a couple plans where the front porch extends beyond the garage.
I'd have to honestly look at them again. If we wanna, I don't know which direction.
Yeah, I think we have a
those plans are.
copy of all the,
Elevations.
I thought there was a plan that Commissioner may be referring to. Where those front porch.
Yeah.
Does extend.
You can see it on the one where it extends out, but some of them are drop back, and there's something to be said too about, they definitely live, it's a good front yard feature, but to have a little bit of privacy too, if you do want to sit on your porch, people walking by on the sidewalk, I think, again, it'll live really well.
right. Yeah, they're very handsomely made. Anybody else have questions for him? Okay.
And our cladding is LP Smart Side, so it is a wood product.
Okay. Commissioner Sandell?
Madam Chair, I think this is also kind of more of a personal question, but like, I'm just curious, what's the argument for doing the detached townhomes opposed to traditional townhomes?
So we've done some traditional townhomes. I think we found with this product, people maybe aren't ready for that step into a townhome, and that they do prefer not to share a wall.
I guess I understand that part of it. With where it's located, it feels almost, I don't know. It feels to me like an attached one would make more sense, just right across from, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
like, I don't
and
know.
I don't know if you want to
Oh,
speak to that.
Yeah, that was always our intent, is to have a diverse option of housing
Sure.
available.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Any others? I guess not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex, anything more before I? My paperwork. Okay, so if there's anybody here tonight that would like to ask questions, please come up to the podium to speak and address all comments and questions to the chair. State your name and your address. Anybody interested?
I'm always the chatty one.
Are ya?
Sue Swanson, 12450 Drayton Trail,
Perfect.
number 228.
Okay, thank you.
Looking at these, are those dormer windows, is there living space behind those, or are they just part of the design?
I'm being told no, that is not a living space, but it is just a facade of windows.
Okay, and on that one form that the gentleman showed, it showed number of stories, 4. Are they going to be like 2 stories? I know it's a walkout main level, but where did the other 2 stories come from?
Chair, if I may,
Sure.
the number of stories 4 is for Zone 1 only. That is for
Okay.
your building, Applewood Point.
Good. So that's, thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
And a question, this isn't really probably for your group, but how do we go to the city of Apple Valley and ask them to redo that no turn on McAndrews? They've got it so that you can only get in if you're coming down McAndrews from the west. You turn onto Pilot Knob and then you turn in, no problem. And if you're coming from the east on McAndrews, just past Valleywood, you can turn in, no problem. But there's no egress except onto McAndrews, and you can't turn left. You can only turn right, which puts us out driving around in the houses over there in order to be able to go back east. There's no way you can go east, and there's no way you can get into the property if you're coming south on Pilot Knob, other than to go to the light and make a U-turn.
I'm going to address this question to our city engineer, Brandon. Could you maybe answer that for her, or can?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, both McAndrews and Pilot Knob are roadways controlled by Dakota County. Dakota County has access spacing guidelines for where accesses belong, primarily for safety. Pilot Knob is a 4 to 6 lane roadway at higher speed. The reason for the right in is we would have extreme accidents making lefts, and there's some sight line issues with not being able to see. When the original preliminary plat of this site came in, this was one of the more exhaustive discussions that was had regarding the approval. The access is set up, it can be a little inconvenient from certain directions, but it is entirely designed for the safety of access. One of the discussions about if you need to go east from the site, making a U-turn is legal at a controlled traffic signal intersection, and that was something the county has allowed. So both of these are county roads. The city doesn't have jurisdiction over the access on the county roads. We worked with Dakota County for this plan for safety.
I just have a feeling that knowing how people are getting out there, they're going out on McAndrews, which is the only way you can get out. They're turning right because you can't turn left. And the cement divider does not go all the way to the light, and people are doing U-turns right where that cement divider. There's no sign that says no U-turn. But people are going out, turning right. They want to go east. So they're doing a U-turn around the cement barrier, assuming there's no traffic coming. The one where you turn from Pilot Knob, that's fine because you are at a stoplight, so you can get around. But the other one is, and with another 7 homes in there, plus the 98 of us, and that's the only way we can get off the property driving. So we would need to take that concern to Dakota County, then, is what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The center median was put in place at the location for a reason. We still needed to maintain access from Dover, which is the road to the east. That needed to remain a full. And the concrete center median was stopped short of the traffic signal. Was a decision by Dakota County because they're reviewing that intersection in some upcoming studies and some turn lane needs. So it was an interim condition that they didn't want to, and it forced some additional right-of-way and some other needs to add that in, and it just didn't fit at the moment. So they wanted to look at their future growth before that went in. We can make a note to our enforcement to keep an eye on the illegal U-turns. Those are things that do come up that we can.
Well, even in my family, I'm perfectly willing to come out and make a U-turn at the end of the median so I can go east. My husband is a meltdown if I suggest that. So even within homes, there's some, he says, you can't do that. Somebody says, it's against the law to make a U-turn there, which we did not look up. But so even in our family, I'm fine without driving around the homes of all these good folk over here. And he's not. Of course, he never goes east on McAndrews anyway. Thank you very much.
But it sounds like Brandon is saying is to contact Dakota County for your concern, maybe send an email to them. But otherwise, you will note to keep an eye on illegal turns of some sort.
We'll review the signage with the county as well, and see if there's some additional signage at the
Right, that says no U-turn.
at the U-turn movements prior to the signal to see if there's something.
Okay,
I'll take a look at and work with their traffic engineers.
good question, so thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak and ask any questions? Any concerns? Okay. There are no further comments. I will close this public hearing. It is the policy of the Planning Commission not to act on an item on the same night as its public hearing. The Planning Commission will weigh all comments and information received tonight in its deliberations at future meetings. This item will continue to appear on future Planning Commission agendas until a recommendation on the petition can be forwarded to City Council. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, that brings us to number 5, land use action use, which looks like there are none tonight. So number 6, other business, and I will bring that to Tim Benetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Just real quick before, we'd like to announce that our council, at the last meeting on April 11th, did select a new member to replace your Commissioner Diekman. His name is Douglas Halas. I hope I'm saying that name right. H-L-A-S. Doug had some great qualifications, and we also got some great candidates for that position. So, but Doug was voted in at the last meeting. He still needs to make his official swearing in with the city clerk, and as soon as that happens, we'll take care of the internally. We'll do the orientation with Mr. Halas, and then hopefully we will see him at the next meeting.
Great news. Anything else? Any meetings coming up?
Just a quick meeting update for May 1st and May 15th are your next scheduled meetings for your commission. And also, we have Thursday, April 25th and May 9th for city council. April 25th council, we plan to have the Les Schwab site plan and building permit authorization and a conditional use permit on that meeting that night. If anything else, we will give you an update as necessary.
And if I recall correctly, April 25th is also volunteer appreciation.
Thank you.
For people to attend if they want to attend.
That's correct.
Supposed to let RSVP know
Thank you.
beforehand. Okay, with that, can I get a motion?
So moved. Adjourn.
Motion made by Commissioner Scanlon, seconded by Commissioner Schindler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This meeting has adjourned.